What's going on, guys? It is Laser here with another weekend video analysis to drop where my thoughts are on where NIO is going into next week. If you missed my last week's video, definitely go back and watch that. We drop one of these videos once per week. And I say this every single time. Sometimes I forget, but just remember, my analysis is just my thoughts. Might be wrong. Do your own research, do your own due diligence if you're making a really big financial decision. And most importantly, if you don't agree with anything that I'm saying, please, PSA, be respectful about it. I'm okay if you don't agree with my analysis. There's a right way and the wrong way of doing it. And there's a vocal minority that has been out there for a very long time who've been quite disrespectful in disagreeing with me. It's okay to disrespect with me. And if I were to it's okay to disagree with me. But if you're going to do it, be respectful. There's another person on the other side of the computer screen. All right. I'm sorry. Most of you guys don't need to hear that. Most of you guys are wonderful and lovely, and I appreciate all of you guys. But that little PSA was for the vocal minority. Let's review where we see kind of NIO going into next week. We're going to look at some things here. I want to talk about real quick here your fundamental thesis versus where did I lose that? Versus your technical analysis. You got both camps. I'm not going to say one is right and one is wrong, but I will share a chart here with you that's going to bring something to your attention here. And so we're going to go and we'll do 4 hours. 4 hours seems appropriate. Hang Seng Index. Let's throw in our big bro Baba in there. And let's get in Baidu. We have them all on our watch list. We're watching all three of these right now. Oh, that shouldn't be on percentage. There you go. That again. Baidu. Almost done, I promise. Here we go. We'll do 2 hours. Now, like I was saying in the beginning, you got both camps here. Why does this look a little weird? It's weird to me. Let's move this up. Yeah, it looks okay. It looks weird because it's not scaled right. There you go. That's why. So a lot of people like to point out that NIO is short on deliveries, or they're just not profitable enough, or they're heading into bankruptcy. And then I show them this chart and I say, why? Explain this to me. Jesus. Nice and close for you guys to see. Like, what? Did Baba, which is, by the way, is pink, did Baba miss deliveries too? I thought Baba is buying their stock back. And they're multi-billion. They have like billions upon billions on cash, and they're profitable. And Baidu, aren't they in a completely different industry than the car industry? But it's yet when NIO had its nice run, what was the narrative? The narrative was, oh, they hit earnings and they're becoming profitable. But hang on, everything goes up at the same time? Oh, and now NIO's making a mistake because of what? What was the narrative? You can make whatever narrative you want. The narrative's the narrative. It's you could say what it is, whatever you want. You can say it's because the moon, it's the wrong moon time or the wrong solo year. That it doesn't really matter. It's moving. You can't deny that they're moving almost identical. And I believe the reason for that is because they are all a derivative of the Hang Seng Index. And so keep this in mind. When you talk about NIO, you're talking about China. You're talking about the Hang Seng Index. You're talking about Baba. You're talking about Baidu. If you're in any of these stocks or you have them in your portfolio, it's like trading the same thing. NIO just so happens to be a higher risk stock. So it is a little bit more volatile into the ups and downs. But it's very, very, very similar. And you can't argue that these charts are like near identical. And so I say, for those that are like who believe the narrative is because the fundamentals are on there because they're not profitable, can I ask you what the answer and why is it so similar to Baba and as well as Baidu, as well as the Hang Seng Index? I guess that's the case as well for all of them. And I'm not here to actually say one is right or wrong. I'm just trying to point out like this is just, you got to realize this is super manipulation on the price, and the narrative will be the narrative, whatever you want it to be the narrative. If NIO goes on another rally, the fundamental guys, there will be a narrative behind that. Now, not saying they're right or wrong, but you got to realize there's factors outside of fundamentals that impact the stock price. So I wanted to point that out because it has been coming down, but notice this sell-off is not a unique instance to NIO. Take a look at the big brother NIO or Baba. Baba is the exact same price action. Baidu is the same price action. Of course, it's following what the Hang Seng Index is doing. In fact, if you look at the stock market around, it's red. The SPY finished up minus 1.53%. So everything's kind of coming down. So that's one thing that I wanted to talk about today. It's not the first time I brought this up before, so I have brought that up before, but I wanted to bring that up again because I feel like some people do need to be reminded that. Some people already know that. I've had some people say like, "Well, that's pretty common sense." Well, no, I don't think it is. I think some people don't realize that, and people get too sucked into the entire fundamental thesis, and that alone should at least make you a believer in like, well, maybe there is some truth to that. Maybe there's a lot more weight into the technical analysis. Now, the technical analysis is difficult to do, but that's what we try and do here today. So I'm here to talk about like where we are today. And there is some exciting things that I want to talk about going into next week. Number one, on NIO, we're going to dive into some exciting things. First and foremost, number one, the exciting thing was, and this was the exciting thing from Monday that got me so excited. And I'm still pretty excited. I think there's going to be something really big coming. Number one, we have now a very, 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 very similar setup to the last run up. Where was that last run up? It was right over here. We talked about this time and time and time again. 1, 2. 1, 2. Look what happened here. Broke out, pull back. Broke out. Oh, I forgot the number of these, by the way. 1, 2. Broke out. Even on the second trend line, broke out, pull back. Okay. Now, I think what kind of like is flustering some people and flustering some bulls is like, well, it took out the 430, which I think for some reason some people thought like that was like, that's it. It's lost it. It's over. I don't agree necessarily. Now, take a look since breaking out of this second little trend line here, and it's given a pullback. It has been on a nonstop downtrend, and so has the rest of China. It's been pulled down like crazy. You can't see it, so I'll go on the 15-minute time frame. And you can see it's been trying to break out. One attempt, 2 attempts. And that third attempt, which was right over here. Now, if this third attempt is a fail, then you would get the gap down. It would literally gap down right over here, under 408. And we'd be back under here, which is, if that's what it is, eventually you're going to get that breakout, pullback, and that move. To me, my opinion, it's hit a bottom here, right around that 418 zone. It did give you that quick dip to 416, but I think you've hit like that pretty good significant level here, and it's pretty oversold. And it's waiting on a retest here. It's broke here. It's got to retest this zone up here around 448, possibly 450. And not only that, it's broken out. Now it's got to retest again. Just how when you had a breakout over here, it was technically a fake out because it failed the retest. So how do you know this breakdown is not a fake out? How do you know? You don't. And anyone tells you they can, they're wrong. You don't know if that's a fake out. It needs to come in for that retest. And there's a couple places where it's going to come in for the retest. There's one place it'll come in for that retest, which is probably the stronger trend line. But there's another place it'll come in for a second retest. Both of those points. Does Fibonacci support any of those levels? It does. 434, 445, even 454, around those levels. It needs to come in and show us for that retest. Could this just be like faking up the bulls and faking up the bears before a run? Could this be the ultimate shakeout? Get everybody to buy here. Dump it. And I mind you, everything dump, but have it all dumped. Imagine you're a market maker. And now everyone's getting scared. So they sell. Now you're selling the bottom. What, you're going to sell here? And it was another fake out? And it does this? And you were chasing and bought the breakout? No. And so that's the exciting thing on the 15-minute time frame. Is you're going to come up, and it looks like it's going to come up next week along with everything else, and it's going to give us that lift and that retest. A lot of people get sucked into the fundamental thesis. I don't care what the fundamental thesis is. I don't care what the narrative is. I do not care what's happening for the geopolitics. I just care what the chart is doing. As I showed you previously earlier, it's all in the chart. The answers are in the chart. Now, here's some good things as well that I see on NIO. You want to see something? I got a little wedge here. So who's lying is the question. All right, we got that wedge here. Who's lying to us, the price or the velocity? Because when I look at the velocity, it's broken out to the upside. And then I look at the support, it's still holding that support. But the price is broken down. But just realize that this move down here isn't supported by the velocity. And if it were, we would actually get a velocity print that'd be down here. It'd be much lower. And it would have broken down. But it hasn't. I mean, it still can do that, but like to be honest, we've got a breakout and now we're getting our first pullback. If NIO recovers next week, if it does, you could actually get this. Your very first higher low, not your first, but another higher low. When the price made a lower low, that's a bullish divergence, and boom, it goes. Wouldn't that be sick? That'd be a really sick run on NIO. And just think about it from a market maker perspective. You're laughing because you've gotten everybody. You shook both the bulls and the bears. The bears are probably getting cocky here, and the bulls got cocky here. And in the end, the bulls win, but that could be what's happening. So that's what I see happening here. And until you see it come back and give you the retest here, you don't have a confirmed anything. This is a nothing. This is a breakdown, but just as this was a nothing, a break up, it's a nothing until you get a pullback. We're just going to get a reverse pullback now to the upside. You got that pullback and it failed, right? But this is a move. This is a move to the upside, guys. The overall setup here, stocks go down, it's setting up for a long setup. When stocks come up, it's setting up to short. That's when you get like that really big move. Now, if you were shorting this, you've already made 47% to the downside. If you were sorting right from the top here. Now, you guys, some people calling for 364. They're saying it's going to come down into a sweep to low. Another 13%. Is that all it is? 364. Another 12%, which doesn't even sound that bad. Another 12%. Now, I have a problem with that. Now, I know where bears are getting that number. Now, I've seen those comments. Everyone seems to just say 364. I see it. I know what you guys are talking about. You're talking about this low here. You're talking about this trend line right over there, and you're saying it's going to come all the way down there to the 365. And there's the gap there at 373. So people are saying it's going to come right down there. Maybe. Maybe not. You can't ignore this. Can't ignore that. I mean, sure, if you're a bear, you're going to ignore it, but I'm not going to ignore that. I'm a bull. That's 4. So before you get 364, you're gonna at least get some bids there, right at $4. That's definitely a level of support that was built over a month of accumulation that took place in August of last year. So that's where I see it kind of coming down potentially if it doesn't give you that up move. I don't actually know where it's going to go next week. I still think the 24-hour frame is still, it still looks good. And I will point out one more thing here. Okay. Highlighter above the 200-day moving average. Okay. Above the 200-day moving average. Above the 200-day moving average. And these are pretty much the last times. And all the red moves, and we'll use red for this. Where the heck is red? The red moves happen when it's below the 200-day moving average. But you're not going to get like an explosive move to the downside as it's already down here. It's coming up to actually make a big move is what it's trying to do. The move that's next is actually this. This. I believe the move that's next is this. And you want to know what's going to also support that? Is this. You guys all seen this. Since IPO, 11 breakdowns. 98 days, which was 7 bars. 7 bars for us was December 30th, so it missed that window. That was 45% of all the breakdowns. The other 45% took 126 days to bottom, approximately, or 126. Yeah, sorry, 126 days, which puts us to around January 21st or January 27th, roughly. Want to know where we are? Let's open the 2-week chart here. Take a look. Just so the chart doesn't look so flattened. We're on that 8th week. Bar 9, 45%. Do you know how many of those reversals that happened on that 9th bar? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reversals. NIO only gets like 2 or 3 good rallies per year, and it hasn't had a good rally since September of last year, and we're coming up to January. Only one time did it ever take 12 bars, and if you were to count 1, 2, 3 right up to this bar, it technically was a 9-day downtrend. Now, if you look at all the 9-bar downtrends, look at the 8th week on all of them. So here's the first one. Red. Big red. And even red, a little bit more red on the next day. On that 9th bar, it still was red before you got that lift. Now, some of you may be looking at that. That's like nothing. That was actually a pretty decent move. 23 plus. It was a big move off the bottom. It was a 90% move from the bottom. And then again on the 9th bar, look at how as it reaches the 9th bar, that was the bottom on the 9th bar actually. So cross out December 30th. We've now got January 21st, which is like literally a week away. So far, so close. Now, I can't tell you for a fact if this thing is going to go down to 364 or not. I don't. Part of me doesn't want to believe that it's going to do that. But it is possible. It is possible. Okay. It's very, very possible. But I'm holding on to that hope here that we're going to actually see. I'm in the camp that we got a fake out followed by another fake out. And you've got some rising support here that's going to actually play into a factor here right around that $4 mark. And so something like this, maybe. Let's see, something like this next week. Bottoms down here. And then off you go. That's just an idea. It's just an idea, guys. Don't get mad at me if this doesn't happen actually here. I mean, you could easily, easily get that, right? No one knows. But I can tell you when it does make that move, you're going to get that move across all of China. So I think there might be a date coming up on Tuesday, maybe for China and like news. And so we'll have to wait and see how the market kind of reacts and moves off that. Hourly, by the way, it's actually, it has broken out and given you its first pullback on the velocity right here. Still needs to break the 200-day moving average. But mind you, the last time it made a lower low is right here. And I could show you how the price reacted. Gives you an idea. This would have been kind of like technically your first pullback. Right over there. Gave you a bit of a bounce. This dragged out for a bit, and then it finally went back up. So it'd be something similar. I just don't know. We gotta wait more time here. But the reason I've been zooming in on the 15 minutes, by the way, guys, is you could just look to the left every single time. It's always resulted pretty much in a follow-up up move. Right? You can see it all across the chart. All across the chart. And so I think something is going to happen next week, and we might get a little bit of a lift, a little bit of help next week. Let's see what happens next week. I'm not confident. But I'm still holding on to that. The 24-hour time frame still looks bullish, and that we haven't had that big up move. And if you break things into perspective, really 3 or 4% is nothing, and compared to its peers, it's actually holding better, which is rare for NIO to actually hold better than Baba and Baidu. So let's see how the next week goes, guys. If you've enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this analysis and you found it helpful at all, let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to smash the like button, hit the subscribe button if you want to get notifications when these videos go live right away. I still got to post the update on Twitter after the fact that I post this live on YouTube. And I will eventually provide some additional content on YouTube. So it would be great if you guys are supporting my YouTube channel. And I've got nothing else here to add other than I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. This is pretty much it for me. I'm not going to be staring at the chart. I'm not looking at NIO chart. I might look at Twitter, but I'm not going to be looking at this chart again today. That is all the analysis I'm doing for the day. And I'll be back on Monday. All right, guys. Cheers and have a wonderful weekend.